Alright, hey guys, I want to welcome you to Monkey Wrench Retrocade. Today we're going to learn how to navigate your brand new gaming system. It is a little bit more complicated than just, walking up to the machine, putting a quarter in, pressing start. Because it's a multicade. We got more than one game. We've got games made by different manufacturers. So we have a way of maneuvering through those different systems. So I will show you the basic control panel layout. We have things lettered so that we can know which buttons do what. They're laid out a little bit like a handheld controller. The A, B, X, and Y. C for coin is also select, and then your player 1 and player 2 buttons. A is typically, to go into each game. B is to go back. X is various things. Y, you add to favorites, but we'll go through that when we get to that screen. So, to start off, I'm going to power up the machine. So look right up here at the top, we have an on and off switch. And as you can see, my plug is not plugged in, and I do that on purpose. Anytime I'm finished playing with my game, I like to protect it and unplug it, just in case there is a storm. So we'll just plug that in, turn her on, and that will begin to boot up our system. It is a computer system, so it has to boot up. I will turn up the volume. This is what we call a splash screen. It's like an intro video. There's, tons of them to choose from. I really love this one. That one's my favorite. I chose it because this is an asteroids machine, very space themed. So I thought that intro went perfect with it. So we're all booted up. Our first list of games starts off with arcade. This has every arcade game that you ever grew up with is in that list. But to make it easier, we have a favorites list. So we're going to go to that. The way we maneuver this portion is with the joystick. So favorites is over to the left. So right now we've got arcade, we've got last played, and then to the left again with the joystick, we got favorites. So to go into that list, we're going to press the A button, and that has us entered in to the favorites list. So we'll go over the controls again. Look right here on the screen, right here at the bottom. The select button, you push that to go to your options. Select is also the coin button, the C button. Menu button is your player 1 start button. Favorites is your Y button. Let me scroll up here to something a little bit more quiet. Gorf is just super loud. So going back, X is random. It doesn't really help when going through the menu when it just randomly selects stuff. B is back. Launch is A. Y is your favorites button. So if you're playing a game that's not in your favorites, you can hit the Y button and it will make that game a favorite. Or if that game is in your favorites and you don't want it to be in your favorites, hit the Y and it will get rid of it. Alright, so we're in our favorites list. We want to play a game. Let's go ahead and start off with asteroids. So, we can scroll through here, use our joystick to go to our chosen game, but we'll go up here to asteroids, and then once again it's our favorite button. We want to play our game, we want to enter it, we press the A button. This will load up that particular emulator, that particular system. Here we are with asteroids, just like when we were kids in the arcade. So we do still have to basically put a coin in to play, and that is what our C button is for. It's for coin. So if we want to play just one game, we'll hit it once. If we want to do 2-player, hit it twice. Or if you want to go crazy, you can hit it 20 times, and it'll put 20 credits in there. So we'll put 2 credits, hit the 2-player button, and here we are playing 2 players. Okay, so to exit out of the game, we have 2 different ways. On this series of games, we have 2 different ways of exiting, depending on who manufactured that game. Okay, so to exit asteroids, we use the joystick. So hit it to the right, it will bring up this screen, which is difficult to see. But we want to use the joystick up and down to go to the exit. Once it's on exit, hit the joystick to the left, and that has it going, and it goes back to the favorites list. Okay, so as I was saying, there's two different ways to exit a game on this series of games. So we're going to go into Donkey Kong. We'll scroll down with our joystick, get it on Donkey Kong, hit our beloved A button, and we're ready to play. This time we want to just play a 1-player game, so give it 1 credit with the coin button, hit player 1 start. Here we go. Okay, so say we're finished with this game, we want to exit. So this time we don't use the joystick. This time we press the coin button and the player 1 button at the same time to exit the game. So the coin button, press the coin button, player 1 exits out of the game back into the favorites list. Okay, so we know how to play games that are on our favorites list, but say we do that and then we're like, oh wait, what about that one game that I used to play as a kid and it's not in my favorites list, so I want to try to find it. So what we do then, like I was saying, go to the arcade. You can either go to the arcade group or the all games group. But in this example, we will use the joystick to go to the right till we get to the arcade section. See, what game would we? Let's go with Joust. So we want to find Joust. Okay, every game in the system is in their alphabetically. So to bring up that menu, we press the coin button. This brings up the options, and the jump to, as you can see over to the right of the jump to, that's where we use the joystick to navigate alphabetically. So we want to play Joust, so we will navigate to the right until we get to J. And what button do we push to go to enter in? Our beloved A button. Alright, this takes us into the J's. So we will use the joystick to navigate down until we get to Joust. And there's Joust. How do we go into it? Our beloved A button. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to play Joust. Put a credit in with the coin button. Player 1 start. Oh yeah. Okay, so we want to exit. This is most of the games exit on the coin player 1 method. So that's how this one exits. So we will coin player 1. Okay, now we're going to introduce another tool into our gaming arsenal, which is the keyboard. And I have provided a mini USB keyboard for this. One of the most, one of the useful things that you can use it for is, say like Donkey Kong. We were playing that and the intro comes on. Or actually a better example is Defender. That intro from the time it boots up and starts takes forever. And when I'm in Defender mode, I do not want to wait through that. So I can use the keyboard, press the space key, and it will fast forward. Then when it gets to the game portion, you hit space bar again and it stops being in fast forward mode. Now the keyboard mainly is for maneuvering within the system. So not really in gameplay, but whenever you get in, set up different buttons for different controls and things like that. Okay, so like I was saying, the keyboard is used to mainly maneuver within the system. Well, sometimes when you are just navigating through the system to play games, there are certain things, if you hit certain buttons, it can go into that mode where it's trying to work on the system. And if you haven't really looked into that, you really don't want that to happen. So I will show you with the key. So if that does happen, I'll give you an example of it happening and how to get out of it. So for me, if I needed to go in here and adjust any type of settings within that game, what I do is I hit, like I'm going to start the game, and then this screen comes up. When this screen goes off, I hit any button on the keyboard and this happens. Okay, this is a good thing for me, but if you're not familiar with this, it's freak out time, or if you have, a small child pushing on all the buttons and this happens. So just don't freak. The main thing with computers is just when things like this happen, just read what it says. And the main thing you'll be looking for if this happens in your gameplay is exit. So we can look right down here is exit. So to maneuver within this, we don't use the joystick. We use the keyboard. So we want to scroll up and down. We use the up and down buttons on the keyboard. So here we will scroll down till we get to exit. Exit without launching. Hit enter. and that will have us back in our arcade section. Okay, so when it comes to adjusting your volume, what comes on your Arcade 1-Up machine from the factory is this little volume switch. It's, all the way to the left is no volume, middle is a low volume, and to the right, all the way to the right, is a higher volume. It doesn't give that much control. So what I went ahead and did, what I thought was best, was I installed your controls, your stereo controls, right here in the front. So you have your bass and treble, and your volume is the big knob. So then you can use that to, finely tune your volume exactly where you want it to be. Now, one thing I do still like the switch for, though, is some of these older games, they don't even have the ability to go in and raise and lower the volume in each game. So, like Asteroids is one of the lower volume games, and Defender is one of the loudest games on here, and there are two of my favorites. So I'm playing Asteroids, and I have the volume set where I like it and it's comfortable, and then, then I go, oh, I want to play some Defender now. Go into Defender, and when it comes on, it's just, I want to say blaring. It's not blaring, but it's loud enough to, to give you a jolt. So I do like to use the switch, for situations like that. So, I can go down, I can turn it off. It's a lot easier, and it doesn't really affect my game when I can just reach up there and hit it, instead of trying to bend down here and adjust the volume. Okay, so the last section, the last thing we do, we played our games. It's getting late. It's time to go to bed. It's time to shut it down until tomorrow. So the way that we shut down, it's very simple, but there are 2 steps. So to shut down the computer portion, it's just like a computer. You have to shut it down properly, for it to not mess up the computer. So with that, we use the on-off switch. So we just hit it to the off position, and this will begin booting down. Okay, we're going to have a little notification right here. Attention, no signal for the monitor. Now when that goes off, since that went off, that shows that the computer is turned off safely. But our whole system is still on. So that's what the switch is for up here. So to completely turn off everything of the system, just flip it to the off switch. The light will be off when it's off. And like I was saying before, I like to go ahead and I like to protect my investment. These are not cheap toys. Unplug that. I created an attachment so that the extension cord will stay there, so it's easily accessible. And you're done for the day. But guess what? You have your own arcade at home. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you can get on it and play all day if you want. So hey, just want to thank you guys for tuning in. And man, I'm just as excited about you getting your game as you are. I'm just so glad to have, to have found this interest to get involved in. And I just love to see people light up, that have that same love for these childhood games that they grew up with.